Three, two, one. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the Chat Room Podcast. I'm here with Elite again, and
Hi.
and we're just having fun as usual. And today is her show. She has some stories to talk about, and of course, you guys are enjoying. Please consider subscribing if you're watching on YouTube. Follow, subscribe, whatever it is on other platforms like Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, which I believe I actually saw that the Chat Room Podcast is on there. I just got to upload the last episode to it. And you will find a link to our channels down below. So, the floor is yours.
All right. So, hi, I'm Elitentity, Elite, and I have the free reign of leading this show. So, I have got some few articles to talk about that I found yesterday, and I thought was quite interesting. So, I'm going to start with the first topic of wildlife photographer captures amazing shots on lunch break.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm just like, these are actually some amazing shots. One just made me laugh.
That is true. There is the caption Dave Newman has managed to capture a kingfishers on the River Sea close to Slefford Town Centre, and it is a beautiful feathers, and you can really see the high definition of the raindrops, and it's just so amazing how someone could just capture a shot and just in the moment of the bird flapping. It's a rare sight to see, just to say the least, and the perfect timing as well. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so did you pick this article because you're more into like photographs, nature? Just wondering.
In all honesty, I love animals. I really do. I love foxes. Foxes is one of my favorite animals. Uh, Owls are pretty good. Birds. I just love nature overall, and just because a lot of my friends are photographers, they don't get the recognition that they deserve because in photography, they play a huge role effectively. So with a photographer, you can see them putting their stuff on billboards online, and then there's the editors, of course, to enhance or decrease stuff that is just unnecessary. But photographers have such a huge impact on the selling industry and just in general.
Yeah, and it's definitely interesting to say the least. This one where it's like, what is this one? I don't know what a shot. I've been turned to counter feature, and it's just like a bird just looking at the camera, like, "What do you want?" That just made me laugh. But no,
Honestly, when I was picking out some of these articles, I purposefully scrolled down like halfway or so because I didn't want to spoil it myself. I kind of just saw an article and thought, this looks interesting. And honestly, this shocked me just as much as you did. I was scrolling down and I was like, oh, hey, hey.
the deer one or elk or whatever it is just looks like it's doing a "oh yeah" meme, and it just makes me laugh so much.
Oh, yeah. You know what surprised me? It says an amateur photographer. An amateur took this. This, to me, this looks pretty professional. I mean, I can't really say anything. I'm not a photographer myself, but if this is quote unquote amateur, I am just gonna be shocked what professional is.
True, and photography is one of those things that, in a sense, been going on for a while. Still new compared to like painting and writing and all that. But the fact is that people take the time to look at these photos and moments. I mean, and go like, that would make an awesome photo and such. So it's definitely amazing to
Exactly.
say the least.
And bear in mind, for a photographer to take that perfect shot, I mean, there's so many frames per second that an animal is moving in, flying in, trying not to make the picture blurred, but to get a shot of an animal in action, doing its natural behavior, along with just a beautiful shot, such as all of these photos are below, it is just outstanding. I mean, I don't know how they got that shot of the elk or deer. What? Yawning, screaming. I can't really tell. But my favorite by far is the kingfisher. I mean, I've never seen that bird really in my life, and for someone to take a picture of it just so crystal clear, it's as if I'm experiencing it as well. It's as if I'm immersed in this shot, and it's just stunning how pictures can do that for you, along with other art expressions that they kind of give you an insight as to what the artist or photographers is trying to portray to you.
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty new story on the BBC. It was posted 1 day ago.
Oh, that is like 24. That is very recent. So at least we're kind of like jumped onto this while it was still fresh.
Yeah, true. That is very interesting, and I'm just like dying, to say the least.
No, it's fine. I just don't understand because if you scroll down, he's got this camera and I don't know, is that is a huge lens? I'm not sure. I'm not
Um,
really a photographer. Um
I could be wrong, but I think that's a microfocus lens. How with it being long and such. If I remember, I'll put an image of it now, and you all can tell us what it is in the comments down below.
Yes, please do. But it said that Dave Newman has gradually upgraded his photography kit as his hobby developed, and I just love the fact how he's calling this a hobby and not a job, because a hobby is what you effectively enjoy, what you want to do as a pastime, or what you want to do all the time while just enjoying it. When a job, although sometimes you can enjoy a job, it's just seen as often a 9 to 5 to a lot of people. So the fact that he's effectively enjoying what he's doing and just taking so many beautiful pictures that can somehow morph into a job if he wanted it to is just incredible to me.
True. I mean, it, turning it to what we do, we're both content creators and such, but right now it's considered a hobby. We do it on our free time. So if
Yes.
you like say down the road this turns into like a job, would you say it feels like one, or you say it continues feeling like a hobby?
Thing is, I'm hoping to get to the same balance where I consider it as a hobby, so I have that same amount of interest, but at the same time balancing it so I can produce regularly as a job. Because in terms of human psychology, when you think something as a job, you think, oh, I have to do this. This is something that I'm like forced to do. When you think of it as a hobby, you think, oh, I can do it in my leisurely time. I can think about this and I can do it whenever I am inspired to do so. So I'm just hoping to reach that balance along with Dave Newman here. He seems like he's reached the balance of taking pictures and can potentially start a job doing it, because I could see you could start doing like fridge magnets. You can sell pictures just how they are, picture frame it for family as calendars even. That you can contribute to that industry. So I think that just having the balance between the two would be great.
That is true. Yeah, and I mean, I already know if he put that picture of the deer, the elk, whatever it is, on a T-shirt, I would buy it. That's for sure.
Oh, yes, I haven't thought about that, putting on clothing. You know, I said this too many times, but this kingfish right here, it really catches my eye. Like, I might put it as my phone background. It is just so incredible. Like, all of these pictures individually are incredible. Like, you see, I still don't know what that bird is. It is so creepy. I don't know, but at the same time, it's just so fascinating.
Yeah, and I just realized so people who are listening to this realizing that my voice sounds weird. This is just a sign note. I'm getting over a cold and I'm very hoarse at the moment. So that's probably why I won't be talking as much in this one as I usually do.
Yeah, I mean, it is the season for getting cold, so I'm just waiting for my turn.
Yeah, but
Hopefully that won't arise when we both have a cold and
yeah, and then it's just mostly silence for the
yeah.
podcast. But no, it's like I'm looking at these photos and such, and I'm just like, what? Like these falcons are just, and this I think it's a hummingbird. Like you said, in the rain or the water.
Oh yes. I also just think just just looking at all of them, seeing the more you do, the more you learn, the self-taught photographer said. And it also goes back to content creation because you can take as many shots as you want on the camera and you can get the same shots, but the more that you minutely develop uh that detail of taking pictures, the more you're going to get these crisper shots. And although you can upgrade your technology as much as you want, you still need the skill in order to take these pictures. For an example, yes, I could go out and take a picture with my phone. I am not skilled whatsoever, but if you have the technology and the actual skill to do it, then you can transform that picture from, let's say, a 10 to a 100, a picture that can go into a museum, if you will.
Yeah, and it's still one of those things where everyone says, and I've been told so many times, art is subjective, and I agree with that. It's like one man may look at a Van Gogh painting and be like, "That's amazing," and another one may look at it and go like, "That is the art of a madman." And it's subjective. Like most people may look at these photos of these birds and this fox and such and go like, "Hey, this is cool. This is talented." Other people may say he's wasting his free time. So who knows?
Oh, yes, that is also a good point. And I just have a question for you now. Since, from my personal experience, when I was at school, I took art as one of my GCSE qualifications. So I just want to ask you, do you think that it is all right for art to be graded? Because as you said, art is very subjective. So one person can view it and be like, oh, that is a good piece of art. That is an amazing piece of art. And another person will be like, I don't get it. I just don't understand how you can grade an art piece because it is so subjective and people have different interpretations. So I'm just going to ask you, do you think that art can truly be graded?
I I honestly don't know. I mean, I took art class in school and such through elementary, middle, high school, and such. And it's one of those things where looking at it, I can see where people could grade it and such, but at the same time, it shouldn't be one of those things where people take seriously in school. Now, if you want to turn into a career and such, then yeah, take it seriously. But at the same time, just let them have fun and let them experience art. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I do. And just to add on from what you said, that at the same time, don't take it too seriously because you can develop your art style. I mean, even if you think that you're quote unquote bad, you can still develop your art if you're really into it. And again, art is subjective. You could just do it as a hobby as well if you want. I mean, there's a lot of inspiration that you can have. But again, I just find it hard to think, is there a set criteria? Because I don't know how you would grade upon that. I mean, I'm not a teacher or whatever, but it's just interesting to me how you can quote unquote grade a piece such as photography or fine art or painting all in the same category because I think all of them are just different. You can't really grade a painting, compare it to a photo or a fine art compared to ink because they are all different art medias that involve different sets of skills that one could possess and another person wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, talking about this reminds me of something a drama teacher told me, and like we were doing a play, me and a buddy of mine, and she told me, and in the whole class, like, is my buddy. It's like she said, "You're not trying," and then she looked at me and said, "You are over trying. If you enjoy something, it will come naturally." And, it's like, for instance, I enjoy practicing music. I mean, I got a guitar hanging up on the wall behind me that I play periodically and such. And I think about like if I over try like with YouTube, with music, with drawing, it's going to come out as shit. But if
Oh, yes.
but if you just have fun with it and you just enjoy it, it's going to come out perfect. And like there's always room to improve, but just enjoy what you do.
Exactly. And going from when you said that you play guitar as well, I also do play an instrument. I play piano, so it happens. And I remembered when I going back to my very first YouTube channel, I when I was younger, I thought, why don't I just play music? But then I thought, yeah, no, it's gonna kill my passion if I turn into a job. Because at that time when I was younger, I thought YouTube more as a get rich quick scheme. I didn't think of it more as content creation. So I thought, yes, let me stop that now. Let me take this slowly. Let me improve in my own time. Let me figure out my own kind of rhythm and just make that a hobby rather than a full-time job.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at stuff like um my brain is floating right now. Oh, looking at stuff like what you're saying, you only made your channel in 20 like this year of April 14th, and you could just see like you're enjoying it. You don't look at it like a job and such, where other people I know who are around the same size of you gets mad if they don't get more, if their views don't go into double digits. So returning it back to the story of the photographer, you could tell in his photos he cares. He wants to capture it and tell the story of the event. Like it really shows that saying, "A picture speaks 1,000 words."
Really does. And not to mention those 1,000 words can be different for everyone. I mean, the the kingfisher, the are those hawks? I'm not too sure. I'm not really good at identifying these animals. An owl, red fox. They are just all unique in the fact, and you can describe them all in absolutely different ways. For an example, one person that describes it won't be the same as another. So again, going back to what you said, a picture does truly speak 1,000 words, and that's why I just love all of these different medias, whether it's photography, art, drama, music. They are all improv in their different way because there's no set scheme of how to get better. It's just figuring out a way for you to just try and try again until you think, oh, I have reached a breakthrough and it is starting to improve. Like, for an example, a lot of people say that if you can cringe at your old work, then you know that you have improved in some shape or form. For an example, with my YouTube, I can cringe at my old channel. I mean, it's also just appreciating the process as well, because like with this photographer, as an amateur photographer, it seems like uh they have gradually upgraded his photography kit, meaning that it was over time, it wasn't instantly. So you have to enjoy the entire process, the failures, the successes, upgrading it, increasing your skill, just like how in content creator you have to enjoy every step of the way, not just getting the views and subscribers, but also seeing how your channel and your pictures metamorphosize, such as enjoying the creation of the thumbnails, the editing, and just seeing that you have completed and created this quote unquote masterpiece that you have spent ages working on. It's just so incredible when you think of it like that rather than a job.
Yeah, and it reminds me one of my favorite content creators, and he people may know who I'm talking about. His name is Harris Heller, and he said, um, "People are afraid to fail, but failure can be a great teacher." No, if say you want to be like you talked about yesterday. I think it was you mentioned baking yesterday. I could be wrong, and like wanting to be a baker, wanting to have a passion for it, but at the same time, you're not afraid, if you're afraid to fail, you'll never learn, you'll never achieve those goals. And it's like with content creation, this is my Dragon After Dark channel is my fourth channel that I've tried. The first one is still up somewhere, and I forgot the password and information for it. But the other two I've deleted because I was scared of failure. But now that my viewpoint of it changed, I probably achieved more now than I have before, because if I was still scared of failure and scared of what people would think and such, this podcast would never happen.
Exactly. I wouldn't be sitting on this platform right now speaking.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Also, going back to trying and trying again, here is a prime example, real life example, actually. So, quite a lot of you viewers would know the trend of this Netflix series called Squid Game. So, I, along with many other fans, wanted to try and make the cookies of Squid Game. So, first time when I tried to make it, of course, the recipe is pretty much sugar, baking soda, and that's it. It seems pretty simple, right? No, wrong. Wrong. There are so many mistakes you can make. You can burn the sugar, put too much baking soda, and despite the fact you have the instructions there, I failed 7 times before getting the right cookie. I mean, first time not enough sugar, second time just putting the cutout wrong. But after trying again and again of all those burnt pots and pans, I have managed to create the right cookie. And despite the fact of all those failures, I still managed to have this product. So what I'm trying to say to you all is, yes, you can keep failing, but don't give up, because imagine you put all of this minutes, hours, days, weeks, months into a project, and for you to just fail, you don't have a product. Whereas if you keep continuing and building upon this, you will have something to finish with. You can look back on that time and think, wow, it's either crap or good, but at least you have a byproduct that you can look at and think, at least I have created something. At least that time hasn't gone to waste.
Yeah, that is so true and such. It's one of those things we're looking at it, and where one of those things where people talk about trying to figure out the best way to explain it. Talk about like failure as a bad thing, but it's the greatest teacher. I mean, God knows how many times I've thrown myself into a bunch of different things and I failed and gave up on, but I learned something from it. Like, for instance, I'm very open to talk about my education history. I'm a high school dropout, and when I look at the past and such, I've learned so much from it. And I learned more outside of high school than I did inside, yes. But at the same time, I feel like school is still important. Like socializing, learning how to interact with people and such. It's one of those things where people are scared to try, almost. Especially with this pandemic and this year, school's opening back up. People were like, okay, I don't know if I should hug you and cry or look at you and spray you with Lysol. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yes. And going back to being in school and education, that quite a few people I know, I have sometimes found that school is very rigid. It is very mechanical. You'll sit in rows, like, this is going a bit off topic, but the school system hasn't really changed, if you ask me. Like in the 1800s, you'll sit in little rows, put your hand up, just expecting the teacher to answer you. There is not, it kind of stifles creativity. And I think that experience also, along with failure, is the best teacher, because with experience, you learn failure, you learn resilience, you learn determination. And all of those factors are key when you're trying to be your own entrepreneur, when you're trying to be your own creator, such as a photographer, content creator, or whatever you want to be. It is still applicable to every single thing you want to be in life, whether it's just something as small as doing your own hobby or doing something large as such as being a CEO. You all need resilience, determination, some failures, successes to build up your character, because without failures, you don't know if you're doing something wrong and you will never improve. But without successes, it won't be a drive for you to keep going. So I think you just need to find that balance of just doing all of those things. But again, do not be afraid of failure. Failure is your friend.
Yeah, and it's seriously one of those things where looking at it and just how many times I've failed and looking back learn at it, like the biggest thing I feel that wasn't school, it was trying to join the US military. And like I was trying to get in shape, trying to do everything I can and such. But I was born with a physical condition called torticollis. And for those who don't know what it is, one side of my neck is stronger than the other. And when it acts up, I can't turn my head to the right side. So looking at my medical files and such, they told me like, hey, we could see you have the determination to do this, but we can't accept you because of this medical condition. And my brother, who has it been not as bad as me, was able to join. And I will admit, I got jealous, being like, hey, why can't he do this, but I can't? And it's like, I just looked at it, it's like, hey, it's a learning opportunity. I've tried, couldn't do it, but now I know it just wasn't in my cards, if that makes sense.
Yes, that is true. I also heard from the army there are strict regulations and restrictions. And it is such a shame that some people who do get into the army, although are physically capable or quote unquote fit enough to get into the army, they might not have the same determination as you or some other person that wasn't able to get in, not because of their fault, but just a physical problem, quote unquote, as such. And it's just a shame that a lot of people have been turned down for things. But again, with a lot of things, you can adapt to what you want to do, such as if you failed in the army, you can still train if you want. If you can start doing whatever you want, just adapt to it, because don't let other people stop you despite your physical problems and such. Like, just do whatever you want, because you're your own person and your own kind of boss in a sense. Just do whatever makes you happy and don't let other people stop you as such.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really agree with that. Uh, and I see we're doing it again where we're talking about a subject and it's starting to take a form of its own, because I just looked at the time. What feels like 2 minutes has been 28 minutes. I'm like, wow.
Oopsie. All right.
No, it's good. Like I said, and for the viewers wondering, what in the world am I listening to? This is a chat room podcast. Literally, we talk about anything, everything, what we want to talk about, and such. So,
Yeah. But anywho, we spoke a lot about this wonderful photography of Dave Newman, of the wildlife photographer. I'm imagining this will be linked down below, or you can easily find it going on BBC News. It is very recent. Again, it's 1 day ago.
Yeah. And I'll make sure, just like the last one, I'll put links down below to every story that we talk about.
All right. Awesome. So, unless if you have anything else to add on to this, would you mind if we move on to the next article?
Let's move on.
All right. So the next article that I have seen, this is published November 21. I can't really read the date. Oh, 8th of November. That is, again, 1 day ago. And the title is Rare Dog Stolen from Van in Blue Water Car Park. And if you scroll down, you just see this cute little baby of a dog. I'm not sure what kind of dog. Oh, it is a rare Russian balunka. Balunka? Not too sure how to pronounce it, but let me just read on a bit. A rare dog is thought to have been stolen after its owner's van was broken into Blue Water. Bjorn went missing on Saturday afternoon as he was left in a vehicle which is parked outside John Lewis. And as you can see, there's this cute little face. For all of you listening, it is a Russian Blanca. You can search that up during the podcast. You can just see what both me and Dragon After Dark are looking at. But I don't know. And despite the fact this is a short story, it just speaks volumes on how the fact that dogs, pets, people, kids are still getting kidnapped or stolen out of cars, despite the fact that they're clearly not their pets or their children. So I just wanted to get your insight on the story as well.
Yeah, and it sucks that animals, people, and all that are being taken, stolen, abducted, and such. But I'm reading it, and convinced he was stolen, now appealing for help to get their beloved pet returned. But I'm looking, and did it turn out it was not stolen, or like did it just walked out of the vehicle? Like, I'm going to go for a stroll. Like, I'm trying to find out more. There's not much to the story from what I can see, but at the same time, it brings up a good point. It's like, if you have a pet and such, and you're not taking it to like the vet, or if it's not like a service animal that you take with you, I would just say leave it at home. Like, yeah, it may destroy a few things, like say furniture and such. I've had pets done that, but it's better than leaving them out in like a hot or cold vehicle, or possibly being taken. Because I used to own a blue nose pit bull, and that dog, I let the dog out to go to the bathroom, and the dog was actually abducted. We got the dog back, and then it turns out I couldn't keep the dog, and I gave her to a friend, but it's just really one of those things where it's like, well then. And if you're not careful, it can happen to anybody, really.
Oh, yes, exactly. And going back to the story, I totally forgot to mention, please, when you get a dog or get a puppy as such, please go to your vet and get them microchipped. It will help a lot of these instances, because with the microchip, they have radios effectively, so you can track them if they're in a given radius, or if someone was to bring the stolen dog to a vet, then if the vet microchips it, they can see that if you're the owner or not. So they can also keep the dog and just call if the dog is not yours. And also, on the dog tag, please put a collar on your dog, put your number, put the address on your dog's collar, so that if your dog does get stolen or happens to run off or gets lost, then a person, well, hopefully a good, decent human being, would return it to a vet or police, or just back to you, and you can have your little pooch back. Because it seems like in this picture that if you scroll down, there is a collar on it. I cannot see the tag, so I can't really see if there's any identification on it, but it would help a lot of cases if that was the case. So just get your dog from a responsible breeder, make sure that it's microchipped, have its appropriate vaccinations, so that it won't be in any harm's way, and for it to be healthy. So when a situation like this, while an unlikely situation does arise when a dog is stolen or gets lost, you can go through these logical steps of either getting the dog tracked or going to any nearby vets around the area to see if they have seen this dog, because you would have tracked it, or at least have a collar with its name or phone number or address on it.
Yeah, and I'm reading here, the dog is microchipped, so it'll be a matter of time before the dog is returned, hopefully.
Oh yes, that is very good. It will be a matter of time because if you don't microchip it and if you don't put a tag on, then I'm sorry to inform you, but it will be highly unlikely that you'll see that dog again. Um, and just also another insight for putting your dogs, leaving them in vans or cars, or for little children as it goes. Uh, yes, you can leave them in the car, but not for too long. Oftenly, 30 minutes is more than a long enough time for a dog or a small child because they clearly don't know what they're doing. They can mess with anything in the car. And also, I've read from this via my own research that dogs' temperatures should not reach over 104 degrees, and that equates to 40 degrees Celsius, which for anyone is really hot. And that's talking about 40 degrees outside. Bear in mind that in a car it can raise a few degrees higher, so just leaving a dog in a or a person or a kid in a well ventilated space so they don't overheat and get heat stroke or anything that will affect their health would be amazing. So just bear in mind not to leave them for so long that they can do any damage in the car or damage to themselves because a car is a confined area. So for dogs that have separation anxiety or um, very fidgety or not as trained can damage the furniture in the car, can overheat, or there is a possibility that dogs can get too cold even, or kids can. So it's just good to bear that in mind when you have your cute little passenger in the car.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, um, I don't know if you heard the show, but here in America, long time ago, relatively, we had there was a show called MythBusters, and they did an episode where they left pastry dough, canned pastry dough, in a car, and it basically showed that if it's get hot enough, the can will explode, and pastry dough will go everywhere. So if think about it like this, if a hot car can do that to pastry doughs or even other type of food, think about what it could do to your body. In fact, I've read medical stories where kids and adults even stayed in the car during long commutes, and their ventilation, all that didn't work out. Even with windows rolled down, they got minor to severe heat stroke and heat sickness. So it's definitely dangerous. And if it's in the cold, yeah, your food may be okay for a night if you forget to grab something. But looking at it, if you're in a cold vehicle for too long and such, it can lead to devastating events. Like when I was younger, like a baby, my parents were kicked out of the house, and there we were in the cold every so often turning on the vehicle to keep it warm because there was a little baby in the car. Luckily it got fixed and the situation got better, but it's one of those things where it could be dangerous. The elements are very dangerous.
That is very true, and I'm just going to, from my mind, if you do see a dog or a child in the back seat of a vehicle, you can tell for these symptoms of heat exhaustion, it is heavy sweating, cold, pale and clammy skin, fast, weak pulse, nausea, vomiting. You'll effectively see that if it is a baby, you'll see them pretty lethargic, lifeless. You can see them being tired and weak, and for symptoms of hypothermia or just overall really cold, you can see that there's shivering, confusion, fumbling hands, slurred speech, and drowsiness. So both of them have similar symptoms of both being dizzy, tired, exhaustion. You can see their skin shivering, sweating, and it is very easy to, and you're probably thinking, listening to this podcast, what? That is so easy to see. I can clearly see if a child is sweating or if a child is cold and shivering. But when a child is in a car, you can see them as, oh, they're just sleeping, oh, they're just taking a nap. That's what children do. But if it is a hot day, for an example, black car with a high albedo under the sun, and you see a child just sitting there lifeless, uh, you don't have to even break into the car. If you have concerns, you can go into the shop and alert from the PA, or you can call 911, the non-emergency line, for them to check it out, and they can break into the car if they deem necessary. But the point of the fact is just to look out for these things, because you might be a lifesaver, a hero at that.
Yeah, and one time this was a little while ago, like 3-4 years ago. I was sitting outside on the porch with my father, and there's this restaurant like 2 houses down. This woman parked a truck, and we started hearing crying, and we didn't know where it was coming from. Turned out, on a hot day, vehicle not running, windows up, this woman left her baby in the truck. And I was like, oh shit, new parent. I started freaking out, and turns out she just didn't want the kid crying while she was enjoying her meal at a catfish place. And
Oh.
it's one of those things where it's like, I get it, people do stupid things, but when it's their life involved, as a great man once said, don't be stupid.
That is true, and my heart really goes out to those parents who have a loving bond and a loving relationship with their kids, because you can look to the demographic of the population that some people are unable to have kids due to a hysterectomy or whatever the problem is, low sperm count, or whatever the problem is, and they can make absolutely loving parents. Some of them adopt, and they love them more than the biological mother could ever, or biological father. It goes both ways, and the fact that you have this child, you were gifted the opportunity to bring forth life, and for you to neglect that, it is bewildering to say the least. It is just absolutely confusing.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, people say all the time, it's like, oh, if you didn't want kids, you should have done this, you should have done that. But at the same time, it's like, you don't know what you're talking about until you've been in that situation, where it's like, one of those moments where it's like, being a father myself, there are moments where you want to pull your hair out, because you got to look at the situation at hand and just say to yourself, is like, okay, what did I sign up for? But also take every moment with a pet, a kid, a family member as a gift, because at any moment it could be taken away from you.
Exactly. Such as this story of the rare dog stolen.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy, to say the least. And I read, when reading through all this and such, and it's one of those things where it turns out it looks like the dog was stolen. So I hope he gets his dog back, especially since it's microchipped.
Oh, yes, that is true. However, I am looking at the title, and I've been glossing over the fact that, despite the fact it is a dog stolen, apparently the dog is rare. So I am not sure if the dog is either worth a lot of money, or if it's in the market for that, because I can see how some people who see a rare dog or a rare dog breed, such as a purebred or a pedigree, they are really expensive, and you can effectively get a quick buck from it. So I'm not too sure as to how much money this dog breed is. So if anyone who's watching the podcast can tell us in the comments of the price variation for this dog, that would be nice, so that we can have some sort of insight as to it, because it is really sad that this dog was stolen. I mean, I can see that this dog is a very kind of a red color in a sense. Like the nose is red, the fur is very curly, quite rich, and it's just a shame that the 2-year-old dog has been stolen. And I'm also reading down on the article. He won't be eating or drinking. He doesn't eat very much usually anyway. Wherever he is, he's going to be very scared. And with dogs and children and just anyone alike, when they're in a new and different environment, they will not be comfortable because it's not their quote unquote territory. This is a completely new environment. And a lot of people go and either shut down or go into the 4 different modes of fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, where they either get really aggressive or they want to just run away and have this nervous energy, or just freeze and shut down or fawn, like they get effectively Stockholm syndrome. And I just find it really sad how many people who have been in this situation have to cope with this change that they effectively didn't want. And it's just so upsetting to see that this poor little dog has to go through that.
Yeah, and I just looked it up just because I was interested. A dog like that, not from a reputable breeder, can go anywhere between 1,500 to 2,500 US dollars, which is on the high end 3,394. Oh wait, no, that's US dollars. My bad. Uh, I was looking at it. I did it wrong. On for people from the UK, England, and such, that is 1,841 pounds for on the high end.
And bear in mind, this is also a young dog, so I'm not sure if that affects the price range as well,
Oh yeah, these are for
because
puppies.
Oh, okay. But yes, it just goes to show that dogs very can be very expensive. And although some people don't look at the price and think of them as absolutely loving, which we all should do if we're getting Pooch as a friend, but some people look at them as, oh, free money, free pocket change, or chump change, if you will, and just snag it, and oh, that's money to my bank account, which is just upsetting, because when you're taking a life form or life from someone, you're not just taking that life away, you're also taking the other person's heart away, because they love that possession, whether it's a dog or a family member or a kid. And they're going to be worried, they're going to be stressing out for their lives, they're going to be breaking down over it, and you've ruined that effectively. And I just find it rather disgusting that anyone can do that and sleep at night, because I sure wouldn't.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy to say the least. It's one of those things where if you can't take care of an animal, don't get one. If you know people who will be very loving, very caring to the animal, like I had to do with my dog, go ahead and sign over ownership and such. It'll be hard. It'll be very sad, but do what's best for the animal and such.
Yes, exactly. And going back to that quote from Dog Trust, a dog is for life and not just for Christmas. So if you do get a dog, please look after it and do the checks and just take care of it. So, unless if you want to add on anything more from this story, then do you mind if we move on to the next article?
Let's move on to the next article. I have it open and I'm reading it right now, and I'm just like, oh boy.
All right, so the next one is hazardous asteroid size of the Eiffel Tower heading towards Earth, NASA warns. So, searching the Eiffel Tower size, I'm just searching it right now, and it is distance of 3.9 kilometers.
Yeah, that's what it says here. Do you have the planet a distance of 3.9? Oh, that's million kilometers. My bad.
Oh yes, the Eiffel Tower is 300 meters or 324 meters to the tip. So just to think that just hurling towards Earth is pretty treacherous to think about.
Yeah, and for those listeners and viewers that are listening to this, wondering what is in foot and such, that is 1,062.99 feet. So that's big.
It
the tower's
is.
big. It's like, oh boy. But thankfully, it says here, will pose no threat to humanity. So it's going to look like a shooting star for people able to view it and such.
Oh, at least it's not like the dawn of the dinosaurs. It is not quite our time yet for humanity.
Yep. But
Alright, so let me read on. Almost triple the size of a football pitch, the asteroid named 4660 Nearest is classified as a potentially hazardous asteroid. NASA's asteroid monitor predicts that it comes close to Earth on December the 11th, and the asteroid will fly by the planet at a distance of 3.9 million kilometers, a distance greater than 10 times that between the Earth and the Moon. Oh, okay. So if you think about that, a distance greater than 10 times between the Earth and the Moon, you can see the Moon in pretty decent view of the Earth, but it's still pretty far away. Like if you look at it in the sky, you can pretty much cover it with your thumb. So if you think of it being 10 times the distance, then it is barely a sight to be seen. So I can see as to how that won't be too much of an impact to human society. But in terms of NASA, it is very close. I mean, I've learned in one of my A levels in my studies that the sun is like 1.45.9 kilometers away, which is even further, and you can also see the sun. I mean, the sun is considerably bigger than the Earth and the Moon. So if you take this asteroid, it is actually on a significantly smaller scale to all of these, to Earth, to the Moon, Jupiter, Saturn, to all of these planets in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy to say the least. And I mean, we don't think about it, but there's a lot of asteroids, usually small, that go by the Earth and such. But the fact is, if we're not careful, and such, there's nothing we can do to prevent an asteroid, really. But if we're not careful, it could be one of those things where it's like, oh boy.
Yes. But yes, it's just you can scroll down and see that there is a computer artwork of an asteroid approaching Earth. So again, going back to artwork, that the fact that that artwork is also subjective. If we go back to the wildlife photographer and there's this artwork, I mean, I'm not really gonna say, oh, let's grade this artwork because it is an asteroid that has a potential threat. I mean, NASA said that's not quite one, but just to see this picture, and it is pretty beautiful. You can see the stars, you can see the Earth, the swirls of the clouds of the stratosphere, and just the asteroid, the mass of rock that is just coming towards Earth with this haze around it. It is pretty stunning. NASA proposed sending the robotic asteroid Shoemaker Rendezvous, NEAR for short, probe, and Japan is sending the robotic spacecraft Hayabusa to Nearest, but both ultimately chose other targets. So it's not the first time large asteroids have entered the Earth's orbit. So again, a lot of things enter Earth's orbit, but it is not strong enough to be pulled by Earth's gravitational force. So an object can be going towards Earth, but again, due to space, there's no direct distance. It can go wherever. I mean, space is just an empty vacuum, so I don't know. It will just float wherever it wants to float.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, okay, it's December 11th will be an interesting day to say the least. But overall, like they said, we should be fine. Nothing to worry about. And it's definitely just one of those things where it's like, looking at space, we have no idea what's out there. We have no idea what can happen, to say the least.
And going back to this, the news also is again updated at 1:11, I think, GMT time, which is 7th of November 2021. So again, for any time around the world, it is still pretty recent, like 2 days, 3 days recent. So you can hear it from first primary source from NASA that it is posing no threat to humanity. It is 3 days old, so that is still pretty recent. So there is no worry here. And the asteroid is also measured to be close enough to be around 7 lunar distances away, trips to the moon and back, to clarify to people. So that is actually still very, very far, because you hear people going to the moon and back, and it does take them quite a while, like years. And for it to be 7 lunar distances, it is significantly far. So there is no worry about it. But it is just bewildering to think that a ginormous 300-meter object could have, in another timeline, if you believe in that, could have been coming to Earth. And it's just speculating what damage that could possibly cause. I mean, it could hit a continent, or it could be lucky enough to hit the Pacific Ocean, but all of the other effects that could cause, such as a tsunami or anything, it is just, the possibilities are endless. And despite the fact that it is terrifying to think about it in that perspective, it is also pretty intriguing to others.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. That is, the unknown is terrifying. That is for certain. But it's one of those things we can't control. I learned from my father, hope for the best, expect the worst, so you're never disappointed. It's basically saying, if you can't control it, don't worry about it. Just let it happen.
Oh yes, that is very true. And yes, that is true. We cannot control this asteroid. It's just doing its own thing. There's no point of worrying about something that cannot be helped. And just say life is too short. Again, you have like 8 years on this planet. You don't need to spend all of your time stressing about this meteor that is most likely, again, first world point of view from NASA, that is not a potential threat to humanity, just not to worry about it too much. So I'm not sure if you want to add on anything else, but are you ready for the last and final article?
Yes, I am. It's This one's just one of those things where it's like, we don't know what will happen, but at the same time, it's nothing we can control.
Exactly. So, going from these two very grim stories of the red dog stolen hazardous asteroid, I thought we can finish it off with a more happier, less grim story, and it is £2 coins sells for £500, and there are more in circulation.
Yeah.
So let me scroll down and say a red £2 coin in the UK has sold for £500, and there are still some in circulation. The coin features of image of a British war figure, Lord Kitchener, or Kitchener. I have no idea how to pronounce it. It is released by the Royal Mint 7 years ago to mark 100 years since the start of the First World War. Oh, and do you remember when we went back from that other podcast, we were talking about the lady who lived throughout the First War, the Second War, the Vietnam War, and all of these wars, and the other person who through 68 years have saved up charity from it, and it's just all tying that connection again, that the fact that that First World War had such an impact in history, and we need to keep it fresh in our minds to again respect the fallen of the 1914 to 1919 of the First World War.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely crazy. And for anyone that doesn't know how much pounds are worth here in the U.S. 2 pounds is worth $2.72, and 500 pounds is worth $678.96. So,
which is quite a pretty penny if you ask
oh
me.
yeah, that is for sure. And like what you're saying is like the fact of all these different things, like Lord Kitchener, and the fact it's been about 100 years since, no, over 100 years since the First World War, which time really flies by. And,
Oh, yes.
and it's saying,
And just scrolling. Oh, sorry. You may
I
continue.
was going to say the 2 pounds is worth a mint if you happen to find one where the word 2 pounds are missing on the head side. So it's valued this much because of a printing error. And there are, says, expert at Coin Hunter says there are 5,720,000 of these coins were struck for circulation, and it appears to be very rare to find one without a date. So it's missing stuff, and it says it has to be missing the date. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh boy.
Ooh. And also that, however, is impossible for the first of its kind sold at Lockdale's auction in March 2024, 500. And it isn't clear exactly how many of the error versions could be in circulation. But this doesn't just go for the £2 coin going for 500. There are also several rare coins. For an example, in my childhood, if any of you live in the UK, when the 2012 Olympics was hosted in Britain, there was 50p coins that if you search up, there were different 50p coins that were in circulation of the 2012 Olympic Games. There was one of pole vault, one of sprinting, and I just think that they're so interesting to see. I also saw some of Paddington, one with a cat on. So the next time when you get a coin, I recommend just flipping it over, not just giving it straight to the cashier or putting it in your piggy bank, and just see that maybe you have a rare coin.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where most people will see a coin and go like, oh, it's a coin. So, and not think it's worth much because what it says. So it's one of those things where you look at it and it values in the eye of the beholder, in a sense.
Yes, that is true. And also some of these coins, although they go for a lot of money, I actually do have a coin somewhere. I have no idea where it is now. I'm pretty sad. Again, going back, I had a coin of a cat on it, and although that is going for a bit of money now and probably will do in the future, I'm not planning on selling it. I'm not planning on giving it away because it is kind of like, again, a snapshot of time of how I can see exactly when this coin was produced, and it's just amazing how the fact that I have my own very little rare coin, and it's just comforting thinking the fact that I've got this rare coin, no one else can have it. And yeah, so that's just me personally. But yeah, if you do have a rare coin, you can also sell it, and you can get quite a lot on it. I'm pretty sure there are other coins that can sell for significantly more. For an example, as I was searching for this story, there are some rare coins going for thousands of pounds, which is quite a lot in the US dollar. I'm very bad at translating currency-wise, but yes, it's just in that regard that there's a lot of money. And also, going back to I think that, I can't tell, is that £2 or £1? I think it's a £2 saying the First World War in 1914 to 1918 of Your Country Needs You, that famous poster of enlistment of the army, and someone appears to be holding it, and is a pretty penny, and I'm assuming that's also going for quite a lot of money as well.
Oh yeah, it's there's a lot of things nowadays that when I was a kid looking at that is now worth a lot. Like in the U.S. when it came out, the original Robot Sapien, a toy I admire dearly, and I still have one. Um, was going for like 20, 30 US dollars.
Ooh.
Hello, dog. My dog decided to start growling at a sound. and now it's like looking at it, some of them in mint condition could go for medium to high triple figures. And I'm just like, okay. I'm like, I would not have sold it because it holds so much sentimental value and a piece of history. But it's just like, that would have been good to know in case like an emergency or something.
Yes. And you know what is so annoying to me that the fact that I'm just looking back now in my childhood and thinking, did I have a rare coin at one point? And did I just spend it on sweets or something? Whereas I could have kept it and had more money out of it. No, my dumbass self just spent it on sweets or something, and yeah, it's gone now. It is now in circulation.
Oh yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like a lot of things that even my father owned that he wish he would have taken care of, is going for a lot right now, and he's like I probably would have kept it, but that could have been used for taking care of my brothers and I, he said. So it's like, oh dang. So this makes me ask you, is there anything that you are like, man, I understand why this is worth a lot of money, or are you just like, I don't understand at all, it's just like a piece of plastic?
Honestly, I am not too sure. Going back to the fact that the coin is considered quite uh a lot, and I just think that is just so bewildering to me in every way possible.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's like, I don't understand how some people put value on different things, like if it's a house, a car, stuff like that, I understand. But and one that surprises me, in this game called Magic the Gathering, there's a card called the Black Lotus that is worth quite a bit of money. I don't know the exact amount now, but I know it's way up there. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's a piece of cardboard with a picture on it. How is it worth so much? So
Yes.
I was just going to say, so people putting value on things that we can't take with us to the afterlife is just crazy to me.
Oh, yes, that is true. And bear in mind, these coins will be left longer and longer, and their value will soon increase more and more. So I'm just wondering, will it ever stop, or will it just keep increasing in value? I mean, these coins are worth like £500 now, these £2 coins, and they're only, what, 100 and a bit years old? But over time, over hundreds of years, I'm not sure as to if they will still increase in price or somehow decrease due to their decline in minted condition, or I am not too sure in that respect.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where also you gotta be careful because people will make counterfeits of these things. So it's like, if you think you have a valuable card, coin, whatever, get it appraised, get it checked. Because I mean, to you and I, it may look like the real thing, but to an expert, they can tell if it's real or fake.
Yes, that is true. So, just to wrap it off there, we're coming to time. And unless if you want to add anything, I say that I don't have much else to say.
I don't either. Besides, of course, if you all have enjoyed and have any thing you want to talk about, like any of these stories, there will be links to the stories down below. Feel free to talk about it in the comment section down below, or if you want to check out Elitentity's personal channel, the link to that will be down below as well. If you want to check out my personal channel, it'll be linked down to that below as well. it's just a forest of links at this point. And
Yes.
As we were talking, I was thinking of what could be talked about next podcast. I'm thinking staying away from the links and just really talking about probably, you know what, I'll tell you that after the recording. I'll leave it a surprise.
Oh yes, that will be an exciting change of pace.
Yeah, and it'll just be a surprise to all of you. And really, that's just about it. So if you guys have enjoyed, please consider leaving a like down below. It does help a lot. And also subscribe for some more. And we will catch you all in the next one. See you then, all you beautiful people. Later.
Bye.